It is heavy. Plainfield Road to 47th and from the Reagan Zoe to past the Eisenhower. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. In our 1 hour heating and air conditioning weather center, sun this morning, then clouds on the increase, high 58. Showers through the evening could pass through, otherwise cloudy and 40, and cloudy and chilly, high near 50 tomorrow. 41 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Retire Chicago. Tune in Saturday mornings at 8 to Retire Chicago with John McNamara of McNamara Capital.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning. Welcome back. Dan and Amy. Dan's on his way. He overslept this morning, which, you know, I'm guilty of doing that a few times. Well, one time they couldn't find me at all, and our general manager, Jeff Reisman, gave me a little call.
Hey there, Amy. It's Jeff. It's Friday. It's about 5:40. We're concerned about you. Where are you? You're not responding to messages, texts. This is very uncharacteristic. I'm concerned. I wish I had Chris's information. Hopefully you're just sick or maybe you had a power outage and you slept through the alarm, but give myself or Marcus a call and please let us know that you're okay. Thank you very much.
So it happens to all of us, but I love the general manager suggesting that I might have had a power outage at the house. But Dan Proft, he's safe, he's fine. I actually thought that he died in his sleep. I'm not kidding. So I called the doorman, or I tried to call the doorman at his Lake Point Towers to see if he was okay, if they could do a well-being check. But he is on his way. He's fine, and he'll be here soon, I'm sure. All right. Yesterday, President Trump, I knew as soon as I read this tweet, I knew it, that the Democrats' head would explode. This is what Donald Trump tweeted. So someday, if a Democrat becomes president and the Republicans win the House, even by a tiny margin, they can impeach the president without due process or fairness or any legal rights. All Republicans must remember what they are witnessing here. A lynching. But we will win. And that, of course, had everybody's hair on fire. Here's Congressman Al Green.
And I rise today with a heavy heart and tears welling in my eyes. I rise. I rise because how dare the president compare lynching to impeachment? How dare he do this? Does he not know the history of lynching in this country? Does he not know that thousands of African Americans were lynched, mob violence? Does he not know that this is the equivalent of murder? How dare the president compare Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution, a lawful constitutional process, to mob violence and lynching?
And even Mitch McConnell spoke.
Given the history in our country, I would not compare this to a lynching.
And, of course, one person defending the president, always his good buddy, Lindsey Graham.
This is a lynching in every sense. This is un-American. I've never seen a situation in my lifetime as a lawyer where somebody's accused of a major misconduct who cannot confront the accuser, call witnesses on her behalf, and have the discussion in the light of the day so the public can judge.
And that one word sucked up all the oxygen in Washington, D.C., so much that the White House spokesperson, his last name is Gidley, came out.
Yeah, but the president's not comparing what's happened to him with one of our darkest moments in American history.
What's he doing?
He's just not.
You know that's not true, and I know that's not true. He used the word lynching, which has a dark record in America's history.
People are upset about President Trump's words all of the time. But what you can't argue with are the results he's put forth for the African American community.
With more on this, let's welcome to the show Rachel Bovard. She's Senior Director of Policy at the Conservative Partnership Institute, contributor to the Washington Examiner, the Federalist, and American Greatness, and co-author of Conservative, Knowing What to Keep. Good morning, Rachel. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, what did you think about President Trump's tweet comparing impeachment process to a lynching?
Well, I think it has a long history of being used by presidents who are subject to impeachment, most recently by all of Bill Clinton's defenders. It's not hard. Go back and Google everything Democrats said about Bill Clinton's impeachment. The word lynching has been used by everyone. But once again, it's just, it's not a great word, but everyone's allowed to use it except for President Trump, apparently. This is the heated rhetoric we have on both sides. Trump isn't Hitler either, but everybody in the Democrat side calls him Hitler without any compunction. So, I think it's just another unfortunate example of the double standard that's applied to both our parties, to be honest.
Rachel, ask and you shall receive. Here is audio from 1998 of Meeks, Davis, and Rangel.
What we are doing or what we are doing here is not a prosecution, it's a persecution. And indeed, it is a political lynching. The Republicans have had no agenda for over a year. And with this act today, they are signaling that they have no agenda for the future.
I will not disregard the people who elected me. 70% of them have said to me, protect the president. Vote to keep this president in office. So I will not vote for this nightmare before Christmas. I will not vote for this lynching in the people's house. I will vote against these resolutions.
So, yes, you're right. And that's, proof that they've used that word in Washington several times before. But in means of the impeachment drama, when is this going on? I mean, yesterday, William Taylor testified and everyone, because everything's leaked now. They said that there is definitely quid pro quo.
Well, it's really hard to discern what is actually happening because, as you referenced, everything is leaked. Well, the reason it's leaked is because it's all being done behind closed doors. And what is being leaked is what is decided to be leaked by House Democrats. And so they're obviously going to leak what is in favor of their narrative and nothing else. And so there's no way to actually see what questions were asked of this witness, to sort of examine his credibility in his answers, to hear maybe the other side, the questions Republicans asked him and how he handled those. And so this goes to the crux of the problem with when you run an impeachment process in secret. You never see a full airing of the evidence. Either the members of the House or the American people, we have no idea what's on trial here. Democrats just say, trust us, but they've given us no reason to do so.
And you wrote an article at amgreatness.com that people can read where you talked about how Chairman Jerry Nadler has kind of fallen out of favor with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Can you explain?
Well, traditionally, impeachment inquiries in the House are run through the House Judiciary Committee, and that's the committee that Nadler chairs. However, and he did a lot of this actually in the Clinton impeachment, a very stalwart defender of President Clinton during that process. But he has bungled key elements of this. He has gone on the record saying, well, we don't really know what legal process we're using. It's an informal process. He really just hasn't been on message for the Democrats on this. And so Pelosi has sort of sidelined him in favor of the House Intel Committee chairman, who is Adam Schiff out of California, much more partisan. And he's the one who's making the decision to run all of these impeachment hearings behind closed doors.
And Schiff, I mean, how do you think he's handling the situation? I didn't like what he did at that first congressional hearing when he mocked and made up rhetoric of a situation, about the Ukraine, about the probe, about the phone call. And he just made up a parody of what he thought President Trump was saying. That was very irresponsible.
It was irresponsible, and more than that, he also lied about not having any contact with the whistleblower until the report was filed. It came out later that his office was in contact with this whistleblower before the report was even filed, suggesting there may be some political motive here. So Adam Schiff has repeatedly handled himself not in a great way, in a way that does not give him credibility to run this impeachment probe, but more than that, to run it in secret. He's saying, trust us, but he's given us no reason to do so. And so you saw House Republicans actually attempt to censure him on the House floor earlier this week. Obviously, that failed with the Democrats being in the majority. They tabled or killed that resolution. But Republicans are saying, hey, we are going to have to vote on this impeachment inquiry at some point, and you are not allowing us to see any of the evidence that we're going to have to use. That's completely out of line. And so I don't think Adam Schiff has really any credibility.
Are any of your sources telling you about William Taylor's testimony yesterday?
We haven't seen it, and that's something that we'd like to see. That's something I think the American people would like to see. We'd like to see all of the testimony that's behind closed doors. But unfortunately, House Democrats have said, no, absolutely not. We're keeping it under lock and key.
It's so shady. Oh, my God. Do you think the House will vote to impeach, like take an official vote on the floor anytime soon?
Well, Nancy Pelosi has repeatedly rebuffed that, probably because she knows she doesn't have the votes. I mean, you have 30 House Democrats in districts that Trump won, and she's avoided putting them in that position. But at some point, the House, if they are going to formally impeach, is going to have to take a full vote on the House floor. The fact that they haven't done so to launch a formal inquiry is way out of line. That's not in keeping with any of the precedent that has been in the Nixon or Clinton impeachments. So this entire process from start to finish has a partisan bent to it and really lacks a lot of credibility.
Yeah, I love how you wrote that it's a garbage process in your article.
That's actually a quote from House member Louis Gohmert from Texas.
Oh, good.
He's the one that called it a garbage process, and I'm just re-quoting him.
Yeah, and so what's next today? Who's testifying next?
So you're seeing, again, other administration officials, former diplomats to Ukraine coming to the Hill. Members of the Trump administration have been subpoenaed, but they are ignoring those subpoenas at the behest of the White House. The White House has said this isn't a fair process. We're not going to put our people through it. So, again, we know who is testifying, but what they're saying is behind closed doors and has yet to be seen or given a full airing to the rest of the House of Representatives or the American people.
And what's the latest with Rudy Giuliani? I noticed the Sunday shows he's not appearing on them anymore. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Did he get a timeout?
Yeah, he hasn't been super helpful to the White House. I think he has taken some time to cool his jets a little bit. Probably for the best.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Rachel Bovard, Senior Director of Policy at the Conservative Partnership Institute, contributor to the Washington Examiner, The Federalist, and American Greatness. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Radical leftists want a wealth tax. New York and California are suing the Postal Service. And Facebook's latest enemies,